Welcome to the provincial by-election debate for the ward of Scarborough Rouge River. There isn't much time left before the by-election is set for September 1st. Good evening, I'm Cynthia Mulligan. This is the only televised debate for the riding and your chance to hear what the candidates have to say regarding the issues in the ward. Now, the riding boundaries cover Steeles Avenue East on the north, while to the east it goes south along the border of Pickering to Finch Avenue East to Meadowvale Road. On the south, it continues on Shepherd Avenue East, south again on Morningside Avenue to the 401. And it continues along the 401 where it turns north on the west side up Brindley Road, west again on Finch Avenue East, then north on Midland Avenue where it connects with Steeles. Now, close to 11 years, the riding has long been served through the Ontario Liberal Party by Bas Balkasoon. Well, we'll just continue on. To begin, each candidate will be given 1 minute for their opening statement, while at the end of the program, they will be given 30 seconds for their closing statements. During the question period, each candidate will be given 30 seconds to answer, and after that, each person has answered. The floor will then be open for discussion, after which we will proceed to the next question, where the process is repeated. It also should be noted that candidate Arya Kaczynski will not be participating in the debate this evening. And the candidates have all been seated alphabetically. The first one to give their opening statement this evening is Raymond Shaw. Good evening.
Hello, my name is Raymond Shaw. I'm the Ontario PC candidate. I have served the people of Scarborough for the past 25 years as a city councillor. And because of this, I know the challenges the people of Scarborough Rouge River face. They face skyrocketing hydro bill, the cuts to the Ontario health care, and very little job opportunities, and the changing needs they have never been met by the Liberal government. All of this actually has happened after being represented by the Liberals last 13 years. During these by-elections, the voters, you will have the opportunity to send a strong message to Catherine Ming. We are tired of ignored. When I'm elected as your MPP, I will continue to work hard for Scarborough, and I will hold the Win Liberal accountable. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Priyan De Silva, you are next.
Thank you. Thank you for having this debate. My name is Priyan De Silva. I am running under the Green Party of Ontario platform. We are working on 3 issues: food security, energy independence, and a basic income. We are using the community mobilization aspect of that to ensure we transition to a just and environmentally friendly community. We all breathe the same air, we all drink the same water, and we all eat the same food. So go out there and vote for Green. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. And next we have Dwight McLean.
Thank you as well. Well, it's regarding the party, it's the People Political Party of Ontario, and it's about the people versus the politicians campaign 2016. I'm here because of our children and their future, because what we realize is that children are now being caught up in values of delinquency, delinquent acts, and what I find is that people are still struggling to make ends meet, right? So then the 3 levels of government, their official elected candidates, what we notice now is that they no longer look after the needs of the common folks any longer. So now, with that in mind, the People's Political Party, which is the people themselves, once elected, what we will do, we will fight against poverty. What the platform also stands for is children's rights, and as well as healthcare, infrastructure, as well as traffic congestion and
that's time.
Okay, great.
Okay, Nathan Shan, you are next.
Thank you. Hi, I'm Nathan Shan. I'm the NDP candidate in this by-election. I live in Scarborough Rouge River. I am with my wife and 2 children, raising my family there. I also work in Scarborough Rouge River, so I understand the everyday struggles our families go through in that riding. Kathleen Wynne and the Liberals have been ignoring Scarborough for far too long. There have been a number of promises made and none of them have been kept. We are tired of being ignored, we are tired of being left out, and this election is about Scarborough getting the respect back. I will be a fighter. I'll be a fighter at Queen's Park, fight for lower hydro bills, fight for lower insurance, and fight for the subway to be built. Instead of having discussion over discussion, have the subway project to start now. I'll also be fighting to make sure we have a healthcare system that we all can count on, our families can count on. So on September 1st, when you have that choice, please send Kathleen Wynne a strong message that she can't ignore. Vote for me, Nathan Shan, the NDP candidate in Scarborough Rouge River.
Thank you. And Wayne Simmons, you are next.
The Freedom Party of, I represent the Freedom Party of Ontario in Scarborough Rouge River, and the purpose of government, the Freedom Party believes, and I believe, is that the only purpose of government is to protect your life, liberty, and property, and not restrict your choices. That is what we believe, and our position is that the government is only purpose is to protect life, liberty, and property, and has a monopoly on lawmaking. And that's the position of the Freedom Party of Ontario. Horvath, Wynne, and Brown all are anti-freedom and anti-choice. They want to restrict your choice in healthcare. They want to restrict your choice in education. They want to restrict your choice in energy. Kathleen Wynne's policy, McGuinty's policy, and Brown would continue it, is to fight climate change. If you want to stop this ineffective method of fighting man-made, not man-made, but really just natural climate change, don't vote for any of the major parties. Vote for Wayne Simmons' Freedom Party of Ontario. Thank you.
That's time. Thank you. Alan Small.
Thank you. Hello, I'm Alan Small, the Libertarian candidate and leader of the Ontario Libertarian Party. We're the 5th largest party in Ontario and the fastest growing. Why? Because we're the largest party that advocates lower hydro bills, lower taxes, no carbon tax, a better education system, and better, faster health care for all. How are these things possible? Well, they're possible if you make the right choice on September the 1st. A vote for Alan Small is a vote against the 4 larger parties that are virtually identical to one another. To prove my point, Mr. Cho over there expressed interest or has been a candidate for the NDP, the Liberals, and now the PCs. Nothing will change if you vote for me, but you will have made your voice heard against this Liberal government, the most corrupt in my lifetime. This is your chance to make a real change in Ontario politics.
Thank you. Piragal Tiru.
Thank you. My name is Piragal Thiru, and I'm a Liberal candidate. I'm not, from many of you watching at home, my face may not be very familiar, and I'm not a professional politician. I have been working in this community for a very long time, making people's lives better. And over the last 2 weeks, I have also been working very hard, talking to people, speaking to thousands of folks at doors whose concerns I share, and whose stories I also share. 25 years ago, I came to this country as a refugee from Sri Lanka with my family, and we started our lives in this community in a small apartment across Nielsen Park. Today, I'm a transportation planner. I'm someone with public service experience for over 15 years, and I want to serve this community. I want to be your next MPP so we can protect the values that have allowed my family and many of yours to come to this country and flourish, and I want to protect the progress we have made together. I want to be your next MPP so I can be in government advocating for the necessary infrastructure in healthcare, education, and transit. So I ask for your support. Thank you.
John Turmel.
I'm known as John the Engineer Turmel, and smartestmanonearth.ca is my website where I have my video to the Ontario students last time explaining I have a grade 17 in science and 4 years as teaching assistant of Canada's only mathematics gambling course. So I got systems engineering and using math to pick winners, my specialty. Closest education to Mr. Spock on the planet. Now my site has this graph which shows you Ontario's debt that started in 1974. And it has Canada's debt that started in 1974. And debt service, what happened? Pierre Trudeau shut down the interest-free loans from the Bank of Canada to the province of Ontario, forced us to borrow from private banks and tax us to pay the interest. Over the years, that's $2 trillion for Canadian taxpayers over 40 years, 70 grand apiece. What we need is interest-free loans, interest-free Bank of Canada accounts where you log on, open an account, pay all your interest-bearing debts below, and after that, all payments go against principal. Someday you're out of debt.
John,
so
that's
I can
time.
get the 70 grand back for you.
John, that is time. Thank you. Queenie, you.
Thanks, Cynthia. I'm Queenie Yu, the independent candidate. I lived in Scarborough for 20 years, have an MBA, did fundraising and marketing. I'm running to make sure that one important issue gets attention, WIN's sex ed curriculum. Last year, the Liberals, supported by the NDP, introduced a sex ed curriculum that teaches graphic things to children at too young an age. In grade 6, children learn about masturbation. In grade 7, anal and oral sex. Now, if I've made you even slightly uncomfortable, imagine how children feel when they're listening to this in the classroom. No matter who wins this by-election, the Liberals will still have a majority government. Now is the chance to send a message to all parties. To the Liberals and the NDP, they will not have your vote in 2018 because they support the sex ed curriculum. To the PC party, they will have your vote only if Patrick Brown promises to eliminate the curriculum. Vote for Queenie Yu, independent candidate. Thank you.
Thank you. And last but not least, none of the above.
Thank you very much, Cynthia. Hello, I am candidate above the none of the. I legally changed my name to be Mr. None of the Above. And this time around, I'm running with the none of the above party. So the none of the above party believes in the 3 R's of direct democracy: referendum, recall, and responsible government. So no $16 orange juices for me. What I'd like to see this time in this by-election is, if you think all politicians are the same, if you're the kind of person who says, I'm tired of voting, it doesn't make a difference, you can make a difference. Help me help you make that difference. A vote for the Liberals is just a drop in their majority bucket. If they get another member, they still have a majority, they have one more for it. If you elect a PC or an NDP, they'll lose every vote by 1 less every time a motion comes up. They'll feel a little better, they'll say they're building momentum, but it won't actually make a difference. Voting for none of the above and my ideas and my views on customer service will make that difference.
Thank you. Well, thank you, everyone. And now we will begin our question and answer period of the debate. Each candidate will be given 30 seconds to respond, followed by discussion. So the first question, well, it's inevitable that we would come to the topic of the Scarborough subway extension. It has dominated Toronto politics for the past several years. The current plan is a compromise, a one-stop express to Scarborough Town Centre that will cost $3.4 billion. That's an estimate at this point. It's funded, but it also relies on a second part of the plan, which is extending the LRT along Eglinton to the U of T Scarborough campus. However, that is not funded, and it is expected to cost $1.7 billion. So my question to each of you is, do you agree with this current plan? And how would you ensure that the LRT would actually get funded? Raymond Cho, I'm going to start with you, and then we will continue along this way.
Yes, basically I agree that plan, and I voted that plan because Scarborough does need a subway, and the original plan is to get the subway up to Shepherd and McCann. We didn't get that. We missed one subway station to support the LRT that comes to the Scarborough campus. Now we have a plan, but Justin Trudeau, our Prime Minister, says the most important thing is an infrastructure building. So I'm sure that
that's time. Thank you very much. And next, Priyan De Silva.
Thank you. The one-stop Scarborough subway station does not help Malvern, the northeast part of Scarborough. It does need to be extended, and more different types of transit must be included for Scarborough. The way we pay for it is through suggestions from other organizations, such as the land value tax, such as congestion taxes, such as parking levies. These are things that the City of Toronto is also looking into. Thank you.
Dwight McLean.
As both these candidates have already expressed, Scarborough North does need additional transit system. I'm a transit, I commute with transit, I drive also, and I find that there's a lot of overcrowding on the buses as well as the LRT. And canvassing in my ward there in Scarborough North, some of the constituents were actually saying that it needs more to come more north, like up to the zoo even. And what I find with donations, we can build on donations, accept donations as part of the infrastructure to help.
That's time. Okay, we can carry on in this conversation during the debate. Nathan Shan.
Thanks, Cynthia. This discussion has gone on for too long. I think the project is already approved. The City Council has voted for it. Scarborough has clearly spoken in favor of subways. It needs to happen. It needs to happen right now. The shovels should be on the ground soon. As a fighter, as a person who's always fighting for rights, human rights, and as for services, I'll be fighting for subway to be built immediately. I also think the Scarborough RT should come north from Scarborough campus to Malvern. The resource question is because we haven't had a fighter. Kathleen Wynne has been ignoring Scarborough. As an MPP, I'll fight to make sure that attention comes to Scarborough.
Wayne Simmons.
So, just which camera? Yeah, the issue I have with this whole issue is that all these different areas are chronically underfunded, and the reason why they're chronically underfunded is that again, it's centralized control. Everything is done by the Premier's office, and all these MPPs have to go to the Premier to get money. Again, if there was a way of actually getting away from this planning model and moving towards self-funding or areas where taxes are collected at source.
Thank you. Alan Small.
I'm against the Scarborough subway. A couple of years ago, a new company called Uber came to this part of the world, and Uber offers better transit, cheaper transit, no government involvement, so there's no need for increasing taxes. And what I'd like to see is Uber being given a chance to have Uber-like buses. I think the Scarborough subway has been around since I was a student, and I was a student in Scarborough. So we're talking a very long time. Metrolinx has a 25-year plan to get the Scarborough subway.
That's time, I'm sorry.
Okay.
Pirigal Thiru.
As a transit planner, I know the value and importance of good transit infrastructure projects, and that's what I want to push the envelope on. I'm pleased to see the subways getting built finally, but what's important to remember is that we need to continue to provide network and faster options for people to commute within Scarborough and also to downtown where they need to. So it's not going to end with the Scarborough subway. In fact, that's just the beginning. And as a transportation planner, I certainly plan to take this concern forward in government and represent the needs of Scarborough with respect to transit infrastructure.
John Trammell.
Gee, where will you get the money to fund it? Before 1974, you could have borrowed it from the Bank of Canada interest-free. All you got to do is open up that window again, dummies.
Queenie Yu.
When you go on the TTC at rush hour, how many happy faces do you actually see? I grew up in Scarborough. I've experienced transit problems firsthand, specifically how underserviced they are in Northeast Scarborough. On top of it all, Scarborough Rouge River will not be connected to the new subway, so commute times to downtown will continue to be long. If elected, I will work with local city councillors and the Government of Ontario to make sure that Northeast Scarborough gets better transit solutions.
Thank you. None of the above.
Yes. Well, it may turn out that the one-stop subway is a good thing for Scarborough because it will be more like an express line. So once you can get people, at least to the start, it will get them downtown quicker without extra stops. And this doesn't have to be the end of the subway, just because that's where it stops now. It should have been there years ago. We should be continuing to build the subway further out north of the city and throughout the province. And we're trying to work on that now, and I would be supporting that. And at this time, perhaps we can use for funding some of the carbon tax credits. For using transit in the subway, that can offset the cost, and you can show how that would help the federal government make our Kyoto Accord.
And that is time. I'm going to open up the floor now to discuss transit issues further. Who wants to begin?
Yes, I want to speak. You know, we don't have a subway transit in Scarborough, mainly because it is a provincial Liberal government. You know, each time there's an election, they promise that we're going to bring subway. After election, nobody mentioned anything, nothing. You know, actually, this Shepherd subway line, LRT line, all this money, Liberal government shifted to the Finch LRT. So there's no money for the Shepherd line. And if we didn't have a mismanagement, we could build the subway up to at least Shepherd and the McCown. But I have to criticize the Liberal. And that's why I'm running to become MPP and bring the subway to Scarborough. And that's my plan. And that's what the PC leader, Patrick Brown, he promised.
Nathan was up first, so go ahead. And feel free to jump in respectfully.
Thank you, Councillor Cho, for your service. But Scarborough needs a fighter. Scarborough needs a voice that can consistently get things delivered. I live in the riding. For me, if the subway is built, it will save me 1 hour every day. I have 2 children, 5-year-old and 2-year-old. I would have 1 extra hour with them. I would be able to do recreational activities. So it is not a one-stop subway. It's actually 1 hour of my daily life. And that's the reality for Scarborough residents. And that's why I'm supporting that
Nathan
plan.
will be 50 years old by the time this subway is finished, I guarantee. And he'll be thinking about retirement. An Uber-like bus system will be the best idea. No tax raises. And it's you're talking about something that has gone on and on and on and on, and it will continue to go on.
Well, I can tell you, as a transportation planner, I've spent time advocating politicians to have better infrastructure investments, particularly in transit, connecting our Greater Toronto Area, including Scarborough. And we know that through that type of advocacy, the Liberal government was the first to come to the table in 2013 and announce that funding for Scarborough Subway. And we're finally seeing it getting built, and I'm glad. But as I said earlier, I think what's important to remember here is that we need to make sure that it's not just the subway. Subway is in fact just the beginning for Scarborough. We need to continue to build on that infrastructure to make sure that communities like Morningside Heights, Malvern, these communities are connected, and that it's done in a context-sensitive way, that it be developed and planned and implemented in a way that fits the needs of our communities. But you have to have somebody inside government putting that need forward, and not in the sidelines just fighting at the government or just saying the fancy stuff in the media. So you have to have a voice in the government who has the knowledge and experience, and I do. As a planner of transit services, I have that experience. And I've seen in York Region in the last 10 years that they've done 3 huge infrastructure projects. 2 of them are in operation already. 1 subway is getting extended to Vaughan. That's the type of investments we need. That's the type of champions you need in Scarborough to stand up for Scarborough.
And how much interest are you going to pay on those investments when you could go to the Bank of Canada in the old days? You're going to tax us to pay interest when you really don't have to?
We have an Ontario Liberal government and the federal Liberal government that's working together.
Oh,
in
yeah,
fact,
working
yesterday
Rhetoric.
millions were announced to fund public transit, and a large portion of it is coming from
And
Toronto.
how much interest are you going to pay
Excuse
for
me.
those millions?
Please don't interrupt. Let him finish his thoughts.
So this is
I
an
thought you said we could debate here.
We can debate, but let's give
I had
each other
stopped my question by the time you jumped on me.
This is the opportunity there's governments that are focused on infrastructure. If we don't stand up for Scarborough now and have somebody inside the government putting those concerns forward and bringing those necessary
Begging for investment.
infrastructure to Scarborough, then we're losing out for Scarborough.
Yeah, begging
Wayne
for
Simmons, you
investment.
wanted to step in.
The problem is that there's all of these areas are chronically underfunded, and
Right.
the reason why they're chronically underfunded is you have all these various groups, especially downtown Toronto, wanting everything done for them. I mean, I consider the Toronto Transit Commission the Trotsky Transit Commission in many ways, because it's a central plan model. Howard Moscow, I mean, let's say it, Howard Moscow, I mean, was running it. It's called the Red Rocket. I mean, you can't find something more communist than that. I mean, as far as I'm concerned, there should be competition with the government model. The difference between myself and libertarians is I believe that we should have a competitive model with public models if people choose. And we should have rebates, basically taxes back to the citizens, that they can actually take their own money and then put that money towards what they want, the school of their choice, and just
Let me remind
you want to get rid of all government.
No, I don't.
Yes, you do.
A few years back, there was another by-election in Scarborough, and the Liberal candidate promised to be a subway champion. When there's a by-election in Scarborough, the Liberals and the candidates claim to be champions for subways, champions for jobs. When they do get elected, they don't speak up, they become backbenchers, they don't speak up, articulate the needs of Scarborough, and they don't get anything done for us. And that's why people are tired. We need respect for the needs that we have, and that's why the people want to have Kathleen Wynne send a strong message this time.
Pirigal, that's a shot at the Liberals.
I think that the key difference here is I have been working in this community and I'm advocating for better transit right across the region, including Scarborough. And by voting for me, you're sending a transportation planner with knowledge, with experience. And also, as somebody who's been involved in politics for a very long time, I have the ability to bring the other federal partners, the municipal partners, to the table to get,
of Toronto.
if you don't mind, please don't interrupt.
Whoa,
To the
whoa,
table
whoa.
to get the job done. That's what we need. We need somebody who can collaborate with other levels. We need somebody who can bring those to the people to the table
Yeah,
and
we know what
be
we
inside
need,
the
but you
government.
can't deliver it. Everybody agrees we need all this great stuff. Now tell us how to do it, not that we need it. Right? We need this, we need that, we need this. Hey, how? You ain't got no money. You got to go borrow.
You know, ridership has been going down and down or staying flat for years in Toronto, and people are just walking away from transit and heading for cars. And why is that? Because the TTC is not going to get better the more money you throw at it. It's just going to go up and up and become more
I will
expensive.
argue on that point. Ridership has been going up, although it's flatlined
No,
a
it
little
hasn't.
bit.
It's
yes,
flat.
it has, sir.
I think the acronym for TTC stands for Take the Car.
Yeah.
So, with that in mind, right? What I think should happen actually, it should be placed. These decisions should be placed in the hands of the people themselves. Why? Because if anybody has the knowledge to do something properly for themselves, it would be you. So why not let the people decide for themselves? They're not looking for politicians to do that. Do you think? If you want it done, if you want something done, if anyone of us wants something done,
company, you're right.
right?
A company that knows what they're doing.
What they're at precisely.
That can make a profit on it.
Precisely.
The TTC will never make a profit. It's always you might as well just throw money on it.
And there are
That's
many people in our community who can actually make those decisions for themselves. It's not rocket science.
Okay, Priyan, actually, I'm going to give Priyan the last word before we move on to our next question. Priyan.
Thank you very much. Let's have an honest debate about this. There's two things about this where there's accessibility and affordability. And I live in Malvern. And the people I work with, they're concerned about affordability, even though we have no accessibility through means. We have to have a serious conversation on how we're going to fund these projects. Nobody here has given any answers on that, unfortunately.
Well, I did.
How come Uber is cheaper than taxi cabs? How did they do that?
Thank you. So we have to really understand that we're in a situation where we're able to use the transformative change of our energy systems to introduce better public transit, something that we as Torontonians and people in Scarborough Rouge River will be proud of. And we do have to pay for that.
Okay, I'm going to end this discussion. Let's move to another topic. The question for each of you, and we will start with none of the above and go this way, as you each have 30 seconds to respond before we open up the debate again. What would you do to battle the rising cost of electricity? It's certainly not just a Scarborough issue, it's a provincial issue, but we can focus on Scarborough. None of the above.
Yes. Well, first of all, I think it's a mistake for us to be selling off Ontario Hydro. And our own report came back and said it would cost us $1 billion a year if we sell it off. We'll be losing out on the money we could be making just to take a quick cash grab right now in order to pay for some promises. So I think we should buy back those shares. If we want to run the province like a business, and the Conservatives would like to run it like a business, will you buy back the shares that have been sold now to bring Hydro One back into the public view?
Queenie, you.
Ontario's electricity rates keep going up, and part of the reason for that is the so-called green energy policies of the Liberals. My parents live in Scarborough. They've spent most of their life working in factories and restaurants, and they've had to find ways to save money because they've never had much of it. They're retired now, but they only do their laundry and mow their lawn at certain times when the electricity rates are lower. That's because they wouldn't be able to afford their electricity bill otherwise. So if we get rid of the green energy policies, and I do agree with none of the above that we should not sell Hydro One.
John Turmel.
You know, in 1993, North York Hydro issued $25 hydro bonds that you could use to pay for your hydro. And they were too stupid to pay their employees with them because everybody in the country would have taken them, in the province. In Argentina, they did it right. The union said, no layoffs. You're going to pay us with small denomination government bonds we can use for hydro, taxes, medical, and licenses. 5 years later, they had no foreign debt, and it didn't make the news. So I just told you we could do the same.
Paragal Thiru.
Talking to many at the door, I share this concern with folks. And what's important to remember is government has introduced programs that help people with financial assistance that help pay the bills. And that's important. I think we need to make sure we focus some attention on that. But let's remember here, we have a hydro grid that is cleaner and more reliable. Remember that the Liberals took this over from the previous Conservative government, a dirty system, an unreliable system, and have turned that around. What's important here is that we provide assistance through those targeted programs to those that need help to pay the bills, and that's important.
Alan Small.
This is a government-caused problem. In 2009, they came in with the Green Energy Act. We would repeal the Green Energy Act, end time-of-use billing, set a price for hydro that's competitive with Manitoba, Quebec, some of the American states that are around us, because manufacturing is leaving Ontario in droves because they can find cheaper electricity in other places, and I would too if I were them. I agree with Queenie. I'm home too a large part of the day.
That's time, sir. Wayne Simmons.
The cost of actual energy, wholesale production of energy in this province is only 2 to 3 cents per kilowatt hour. We have a global adjustment of about 11 cents. And the reason why we have a global adjustment of about 11 cents is because the McGuinty-Wynne Liberals and the Conservatives who also want to fight climate change because they say it's a real problem and we must fight climate change. Well, climate always changes. Hello. And just bring an umbrella if it rains. I mean, we do that. But the reason that it's 13.5 cents, we are being bankrupted by these governments. Thank you.
Cynthia, during the time Kathleen Wynne has been Premier, the peak hour rates has gone up 50% in Ontario. That's totally unacceptable. You know, I met a family not using air conditioning, not using dishwasher or TV, and still paying about $400 per month for hydro. This is absolutely ridiculous, and this needs to change. We will take off HST from the hydro bills. We will stop the Hydro One sales. It needs to be stopped. The research has shown it. It needs to be stopped, and the province needs to run it in a way that the communities get a break. And this government is not going to do it because Kathleen Wynne is so removed from the reality of the people.
Dwight McLean.
I haven't got extensive knowledge on this, but I know at one point it was like 5 cents per kilowatt hour a few years back. However, I know that there are many people who are actually diverting from using power at certain times of the day and night, whatnot. And I find like the people actually themselves are complaining about this. It's exorbitant. It just keeps going up and no one doing anything about it. It's not for me to do anything about it. It's what the people themselves want. It's how they want to rectify the situation. It's not for any one of us in this room. It's for the people themselves to do something about it by monitoring the situations themselves. Because people are going to tamper with...
That's time. Priyan De Silva.
Thank you. We need to change over to a renewable energy infrastructure. The greenhouse gases are causing extensive damage. To start, we must shut down the nuclear Pickering power plant in 2018 when their license expires. And this will create more opportunity, jobs, and also district energy systems, which will give energy independence to each of our communities, where we can utilize renewable energy, which is much more safer and healthier for us all.
Raymond Cho.
Yes, this rising hydro bill is a real job killer. After 13 years of government, now 350,000 manufacturing jobs gone because of skyrocketing hydro bill. 36,000 jobs gone last month, 1 month alone. When you look at the donation to the political party, Liberal Party, 99% of the company who made the donation, and they get the green energy contract. We stop this green energy contract, unnecessary one.
That is time. I'm going to open up the floor now.
I agree with Mr. Cho. And by the way, the price, Nathan, has gone up 100%. From May 2009 to May 2016, 100%. So the peak energy price in May 2009 was 9 cents a kilowatt hour. Now it's 18 cents a kilowatt hour. That's 100%, according to my math,
I was talking about the time Kathleen Wynne has been Premier. That's in the last few years. That's gone up 50%.
Well,
yeah,
I
mean,
the Liberals have been in power since 2003.
You're right.
So we're talking 13 years.
But what's important to remember here is that the Liberals, when they took power, I remember this, we remember the blackouts, the brownouts. The power was so unreliable. That was having its own impact on our personal lives. It was having impact on our industries. It was important to make sure that the previous Conservative government have ignored the infrastructure in the hydro and just kept prices artificially low just to protect their own interests. So what's important here is that they came in, they got rid of all the coal-fired plant of generators, which means that there's no more smog days, there's no more blackouts. It's a more reliable system. It's a reliable grid. That means we can rely on it. When we turn that switch on, the hydro will come. And we also don't have kids with asthmatic problems going into our emergency, costing our healthcare billions of dollars because of smog days. So what we have to remember,
have food to eat because of bills. It's important to put this in context. The family I met lives in a home without using and they've tried as much as possible to conserve and still paying $400. The person was saying they're struggling to make ends meet to put food on the table. So health concerns have been addressed, but it's important for us to realize what kind of impact this has on seniors who cannot afford to stay in their homes after working so hard and contributing economically, can't afford to stay in their homes because of hydro rates.
It's so fascinating that we have the NDP concerned so much about the poor and the people like that. I mean, one of the problems that we have is we have The prices of homes are, and there's only so much condo space because we have green areas. There's a green belt area that they cannot build in because it's all area that's off for limits for building. So you have artificially low, only a so small area to build your homes on, and then their prices will go up. That's supply and demand. It's the government attitude of the NDP, the Conservatives even, and the Liberals that are causing this problem.
Like, I'm not denying that, you know, it's important to feed kids. And growing up for a single mother in an immigrant family, I know what it's like to make ends meet. And my mother was working 3 jobs at times to make ends meet at home. I know what it's like. And that's why I said earlier, there are programs that help support families in need to assist them with those hydro bills. And that's important. I think we need to make sure.
Government created the problem, and they created the solution. Programs to help families.
I think
all they did was grow the size of government.
And let me correct the record on that. It's not the government that sets the hydro prices. We all know that it's an independent, it's a depoliticized process.
That's not true.
It's the Ontario Energy.
True.
Well, that is true.
No,
it's
it is
a
not.
depoliticized process.
They are an arm of government.
This is a perfect example of Liberal leadership and Kathleen Wynne not taking responsibility for a huge problem. As you mentioned, hydro rates and car insurance is a huge problem in my riding. Every house is struggling, even if they're middle income. And you have to take responsibility. You can't point fingers to the 13 years before Mike Harris or to say, you know, we have no control over the pricing. This is a typical behavior of the Liberals, and that's why Scarborough needs a fighter who can actually hold them accountable to these things.
And who's better to fight for themselves but the people?
Apologies if taking responsibility is making sure that our system's clean and our system's reliable. Sorry if taking responsibility is that we no longer have smog days and we have a reliable power grid. And also,
how do we have a reliable power grid when we have windmills and solar panels?
Let me finish.
Only work when the wind is blowing and the sun is shining.
And taking responsibilities and looking after the families that need support is by allowing those grants that are targeted at those who need the help. We all know that it's not the government that sets a price, it's a depoliticized process. So I'm not even sure why we're having this discussion with respect to government setting the prices. That's not true.
Of course
it's
the
the
government is
Ontario
setting the
Energy
price.
Board that is an arm's length agency that sets those prices up.
So the shareholders have received profit in the last while. The shareholders are wreaking profit because of the fact it's been sold. And that is not breaking down to everyday families. The hydro one needs to be stopped from being sold. It needs to be maintained and be in public hands. That's the only way we can have accountability, especially for people in Scarborough with have limited income to challenge the system. We need the system to be public. We need the hydro to be in public hands so that we can at least have some form of accountability. Now, the short-sighted sale of Hydro One needs to be stopped. And I think the Kathleen Wynne government has no mandate. Before, when they campaigned last election, they had not mentioned anywhere in their platform that they're going to sell off. No mandate, but they're still going ahead with selling it.
Let me do a show of hands. Who else agrees that it needs to be sold off versus continue with this plan? Who thinks that it should be sold off?
Sell the whole thing.
Sell the whole thing.
Get it into private hands. Have competitive bidding on real prices for hydro. Instead of
and to clarify, they're selling off 60%,
Green Energy
not
Act,
the
which
whole
by the
thing.
way controls the Ontario Energy Board, which he says is not an arm of government. It's controlled by the legislation called the Green Energy Act. The Green Energy Act says that at certain times of day when the wind is blowing, you should turn off the hydro and let the wind power do the work. Well, hydro is green too. So is nuclear green. There's no need to have windmills and solar panels and biomass. Literally, they waste money. They take up less than, a fraction, about 20% of our bill, and they produce only 4% of our power. And that's why the bills have been going up. It's called the global adjustment. The government has made a contract with corporations, and they pay this much, even though the price of hydro is 4 cents, and actually it's been going down because the price of natural gas has been dropping like a rock. And instead of taking advantage of the low price of natural gas, we're going ahead and using windmills and solar power, which we're paying the Samsung Corporation a huge amount of money for.
Let's take a step back here. Let's look at this. The Hydro One still largely owned by public shareholders. That's important to remember here. Only a portion of Hydro One is sold. And you know what? Those revenues are very important to ensure that our infrastructure continue to build. Important transit infrastructure, important healthcare investments.
You need to sell stuff to finance your infrastructure.
Well, you're unlocking the value of a public asset, and you still have. And it's not like during the Harris government days where we, mistakenly sold the 407 and completely left it to the private sector.
John Robarts had no trouble financing stuff.
This is still largely shareholders are controlled by the public. And we have to remember, these is important infrastructure investment are coming as a result of the revenue. Otherwise, what's the other plan? What are we going to raise taxes?
Are we going to raise taxes? Canada, like John Robarts used to.
Mr. Turmel,
Yes.
I expect you to be more polite than that.
Oh, can't. This is so retarded.
If you are going to be speaking that way, you will be asked to leave. Please at least be polite and respectful.
Well,
That is
it's
not a request, it is a demand. All right.
They want to sell stuff to get investment funds
Nathan
when they could go
Shen.
to the Bank of Canada? That's a duh statement. It is.
Are you going to am I going to have to stop this and get you escorted out?
No.
Then don't
I made my
be
point.
disrespectful.
Well, I have to.
Thank you.
I have to.
Nathan Shan.
The sell-off of Hydro is going to take off public input from the thing. That's an understood thing. And to hear a Liberal candidate talk about it still being under public control is completely false. The second thing is that it's not going to even meet a small percentage of infrastructure investment that we need. This is very short-sighted. It's selling something that is necessary for our affordable hydro is a human rights issue. Affordable hydro is a health issue. You cannot sell that to private interests to make profits out of the situation that is happening right now. So I strongly oppose it. I think it's a wrong move to do, and the Liberal Party better recognize this soon enough before it becomes like a 407 situation in the people who live in South York region.
It's the government that's caused the prices to triple in the last 10 years or so. I mean, it's the government involvement that's caused the prices to go up. All governments, the NDP, the Conservatives, and the Liberals have been in favor of price restrictions.
Why do you think that is, though?
Mr. Chen.
Independent expert says, please do not sell Hydro One. Once Hydro One over 60% sold, the government has no control in terms of controlling price, and the bottom line is the average family suffer. They already pay more than $1,000 after this Liberal government. So the best solution is not to sign any more contract for energy, alternate energy. And the final solution is change of government.
All right, I'm going to stop this conversation now so we can get another question in. We're going to turn to healthcare. Raymond Chan, I'm going to start with you. The question is, do you think healthcare is under attack in Scarborough, in the Rouge River riding? What steps would you take to improve local healthcare in your community?
Yes, that's an excellent question. Last week, I had a visit to Rouge Valley Centenary Hospital. And for example, EL, they designed in 1973 for 25,000 visitors. Today, they are treating 65,000 visitors. And I see that the beds in the corridor is really underserved. That's another sign that how the Liberal government has ignored the Scarborough.
Okay, that's time. We'll continue the discussion. Priyan De Silva.
Thank you. Any professional in the medical industry that I've spoken to relates health to food, and food security is a big deal in Scarborough Rouge River. The Green Party of Ontario wishes to ensure that food is provided through food initiatives that provide nutrient-dense, locally grown, culturally appropriate food, and that will give better health effects for individuals.
All right, Dwight McLean.
Healthcare definitely is an important issue in our community, and you see like diseases are propping up every so often. Like, for example, like the upcoming school season, you see like vaccinations are being stations are being posted everywhere, and it's just a matter of time before we have like a situation where what's it called, Zika virus, and other infestations in our city just manifest and become rampant in our city and just infecting everyone. So we need a viable
That's
situation.
Time. Nathan Shen.
Well, there is a silent crisis happening in our healthcare system. Our frontline staff and nurses are being fired. There is wait times increasing. In fact, Scarborough hospitals, the silent crisis is even more pronounced because of lack of leadership and the disrespect we've been getting from Kathleen Wynne and her Liberals. The operating rooms are outdated with, not being updated with new technology. So we are fighting to make sure that Scarborough hospitals get their fair share as resources, to make sure that that somebody is there to fight, to advocate for more nurses and to reduce the wait times.
Wayne.
Shortage is an inevitable outcome of having a monopoly on sick care, really. It's a misnomer to call it health care. It really is sick care when you need it. That's when you need it. And the problem is that the government is not allowing the Ontarians to actually opt out of the OHIP system and then choose a private system or a public system. They should have the choice, either OHIP or a private health insurer, or they should be able to choose the hospital of their choice, pay as you go, basically pay the hospital as you go. The idea is to put the patient in the hospitals and the health insurance companies in a competitive structure so that competition will bring out efficiencies.
I agree with Wayne. In the most recent statistics show that over 26,000 people left Ontario for better, faster health care in another place. Outside of Canada, they went to the United States, to Europe, to South Asia. There, they paid for hotel expenses, of course, their flight, all of that. 26,000 people left Ontario. Imagine how many jobs that could create if those people could stay here in Ontario if doctors were allowed to opt out of the system. You could choose between the public system.
Pirigal,
As a son of an aging mother at home and as someone who has supported the Centenary Hospital, I completely understand the value and importance of good healthcare services. And you know, it's false to say that Liberal government has ignored Scarborough. In fact, 2 weeks ago I was at Taibu Community Centre, where it's providing essential, culturally sensitive healthcare services in the community, and it's being well used. And we also know that the government is coming in with $10 million just part of this year to increase efficiency in our local hospital. And those are the types of investments that I stand for and that I want to continue to push for.
John Jamil.
And of course, I want the kind of investments you get interest-free from the Bank of Canada, like the successful people in Argentina did when 6 provinces started paying all employees with provincial bonds instead of borrowing from the banks and taxing them to pay interest. Full employment, pay off the foreign debt. Is it not getting through? Not to them, for sure. Ain't it getting through to you? It worked for them. We had an interest-free window at the Bank of Canada. We could again.
Queenie, you.
Kathleen Wynne's sex ed curriculum doesn't mention love or marriage. When you separate sex from love, you ultimately have a broken heart or 2 broken hearts. The result is trust issues, and subsequent relationships are less deep. So without meaningful relationships, depression is around the corner. Our children's mental health is at stake.
None of the above.
And we can also be depressed by how much of our tax money gets wasted. So everything is interconnected. This question ties into other questions. To have money for healthcare, and I personally have waited over 8 hours in Scarborough General in the emergency room to be seen during a health situation. So I know about waiting times. And we could be doing better with more technology. And if we had the money that we hadn't wasted, say $1 billion on some gas plants we never got, we could use that for healthcare. If we weren't wasting money by paying other countries to buy our excess electricity, but using it for ammonia storage here, Greg Vesna, the leader of the
That's time.
Party,
I'm going to open up the floor now for a debate.
It's like a survey. Scarborough has been ignored in terms of getting proper attention for health care. For example, in a long-term care bed, waiting time in Ontario is 83 days. It's like less than 3 months. But in Scarborough, the long-term care bed waiting time is almost 5 years. It shows. Now, last 7 years, the provincial Liberal government didn't increase any budget for capital budget and even operating budget. And they never allocate any capital budget for Scarborough. What does it mean? They are saying that a lot of people are concerned that the Grace Hospital may be closed. So the service of healthcare we're getting in Scarborough is really underserved, and people are really concerned. Now, a couple of years ago, they reduced $50 million for physiotherapy for the seniors, and they reduced the 50 residents. At the present time, almost 1 million Ontarians, they don't even have family doctors. So, they just keep cut, and especially Scarborough. So, Liberal government, they've been taking Scarborough just for granted. They're going to vote for us anyway. But it's not going to happen this time because people understand now.
Understand that that it was the Progressive Conservative Party that actually brought socialized medicine to the province of Ontario in 1969. They also introduced the provincial income tax.
When it was interest-free.
And the fact of the matter is, this system has, Tommy Douglas even realized back at that the system is going to be chronically underfunded. Chronically underfunded because it's going to create a situation where people need to go into the hospital for all types of reasons. There needs to be prices. There needs to be competition among various the OHIP model and then private health insurers, and not the U.S. models, because the U.S. models has the insurance companies in bed with the governments and create these massive packages for people to buy. And that is not a good model either. But the idea is competition will bring down wait times, will increase efficiencies, and increase technology. It is the Conservatives who have constantly capitulated to the left. And it is time for those who support free markets to support a party that supports that view and to abandon the Conservative Party. Progressive Conservative, come on, do you understand what the word progressive means? Do you understand the history? You don't. Leave the party and join a party that recommends it.
The healthcare system is being nickeled and dimed to death. The doctors have been without a contract for over 2 years now, and this is still going on. And Mr. Hoskins, the minister, Dr. Hoskins, the minister, keeps trying to find ways to cut doctors, to delist services. The problem is the healthcare system needs to be expanded. People my age are going to need healthcare, and very soon, maybe today. And so you have to.
Let's hope not.
Let's hope not. But the system needs to be expanded. The only way it can be expanded is for doctors, to be allowed to opt out of OHIP.
Nathan, I'm going to give you the last word. We're wrapping up this question.
So I think it's important to consider the funding cuts that have taken in the healthcare system. Freezing hospital funding has led to finding ways to cut staff, cut technology, and so on. That is what is the crisis right now we're facing. The Kathleen Wynne and the Liberals have ignored the healthcare system and let it deteriorate. The way they have handled the doctors issue is a perfect example, breaking the trust, not respecting the role they do. So it's important for us to have a fighter. Thanks, Councillor Cho, for all the outlining of the issues, but Scarborough needs a fighter. Scarborough needs a fighter who can actually hold the government accountable and get the things we need for our hospitals.
But if I may just end by correcting that record, Scarborough has not been ignored. In fact, if you look at the 2015 numbers, we've had a 14% increase in doctors, and I value the service the doctors provide, and I understand that there's a negotiation going on. I don't know if it's appropriate for us to comment on it when the Doctors Association and the government is going through that negotiation, but there has been an increase in nurses since the Liberal government took power. In fact, over 3,000 nurses. So let's set the record straight here, folks.
I have to end the discussion right here. We are going to go to the last part of this debate, which is our final summations. Thank you very much for such a lively discussion. It has gone by very quickly regarding the issues of Scarborough Rouge River. So for your closing statements, you each have 30 seconds. None of the above. I will start with you.
Thank you very much. Well, you've heard what the big party candidates have said, and if you pick one of them, you'll probably wind up with more of the same. If you want to choose a difference, if you want to see things change, if you want to see new ideas, someone who will bring something new to the table and speak up instead of sitting back and being a good backbencher for the parties and only doing what you're told, then if you'd like to be someone like that, you vote for me, none of the above, and the none of the above party.
Queenie, you. Oh, I'm sorry.
Okay. And if you don't like me or you don't like what I have to say and you really want to punish me, then elect me and send me down to Queen's Park, and that will be tough for 2 years, but I'll keep fighting for it.
Queenie, you.
No matter who wins this by-election, the Liberals will still be in power. So if you're not happy with the Liberals, don't waste your vote on the NDP or the PCs, because they'll still be in the opposition. Instead, use your vote to send a message to all the parties. Tell the Liberals and NDP they will not have your vote in 2018 because they support the sex ed curriculum. Tell the PCs that they will only have your vote if they vote against the sex ed curriculum. Please vote for Queenie Yu, independent candidate. Thank you.
John Trammell.
Well, I'm in the Guinness Book of Records for running in the most elections contested and the most losses. So I've been made fun of, but the question is, smartestmanonearth.ca. It's either true, and you're the dummies for not voting for me, or I'm the dummy. But I think if you listen to how I can get you back the $70,000 you've been ripped off, and you don't want it back, you're the dummies, not smartestmanonearth.ca.
Folks, this is an important election and you have two choices. You can either elect one of my professional politicians right here beside me and allow them to sit on the sidelines outside yelling at the government and yelling at the media, or you can allow me to represent you at Queen's Park. Someone who has lived the life that you have, gone through the same challenges and barriers that many families in Scarborough has faced. That's not a new story to Scarborough, but it certainly is a new story in Queen's Park, and that needs to be heard. And I ask for your opportunity to be your MPP so we can continue to invest in good health care, good transportation infrastructure for Scarborough, and good education for our children and their future.
Thank you, Alan Small.
My thanks to Rogers for this opportunity. Remember, if you like higher taxes, carbon taxes, expensive hydro bills, more revenue tools, more regulations, and fewer jobs, vote for these guys. If you want someone to fight against all of those things, vote for me, Alan Small, the Libertarian Party. Change the way Ontario thinks. Find us on Facebook and explore new possibilities.
Thank you. Wayne Simmons.
Stop voting for the smugness of the Liberal Party. That Liberal Party candidate just insulted the two candidates who are next to them. And that is just absolutely wrong. We need a representative in Parliament that will respect and actually advocate for freedom, individual liberty, the life, liberty, and property, the protection of life, liberty, and property. freedomparty.on.ca is our website. Don't vote for the fake, false conservatives, the PCs who are not offering choice. Find an alternative, freedomparty.on.ca, and we're also on YouTube.
That's
Thank
time.
you.
Nathan Shan.
I'm Nathan Shan. I'm your NDP candidate. I live in Scarborough Rouge River. I work in Scarborough Rouge River. I understand the issues our families go through just like you. I want to be a fighter for you, fight for lower insurance, car insurance, lower hydro rates. I want to fight to bring the subway built soon. I want to fight for good local jobs. Scarborough has been neglected by Kathleen Wynne and the Liberals. We have been disappointed by the broken promises of Kathleen Wynne. So let's send her a message, clear message, strong message on September 1st. Vote for Nathan Shan, your NDP candidate in Scarborough Rouge River.
Dwight McLean.
Okay, thank you. I'd like to thank you, Cynthia, all the candidates here, Rogers Studio. I'd like to say that we're called the people, political party, because why? You are the people, right? You elect yourselves. Who better can do a job, who's more trustworthy and reliable, who can get the job done better than yourselves, right? That's what the People's Party stands for. That's the backbone of the People's Party. If you elect the three major governments, you're just doing the same thing over and over, again and again and again. They say that insanity is just repeating itself over and over. You vote the three parties,
I'm
you're
sorry,
done.
your time's up. Priyan De Silva.
Thank you. Thank you for having this debate. Thanks, Vic. Thanks, my parents. My name is Priyan De Silva. I'm running for the Green Party of Ontario in this upcoming Scarborough Rouge River by-election. We're here to solve the root problems of all the issues, which is access to food security. We all eat. Access to energy independence. We should be in charge of our own energy. And finally, a basic income that will provide dignity to all facets of people in their life. Vote Priyan De Silva. Vote for Green Party. We're here.
Thank you. And Raymond Cho.
Yes. Life is harder on the Wynne Liberals. As your MPP, I will continue to fight for Scarborough as I've been doing for the past 25 years as your city councillor. I will fight for 1. Affordable hydro, 2. Scarborough subway, 3. Quality health care and education, and 4. Good paying job. We definitely need change for better Scarborough. On September 1st, please go out and vote for Raymond Cho. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And thank you all very much for joining us here this evening. And thank you for joining us. For a repeat schedule of this debate, you can visit rogerstv.com. And that is rtv.rogers.com. I'm Cynthia Mulligan. Good night.